Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Kickin Show. Jerry's gone. We got the house to ourselves. Hey, boys' night out, right, guys?
Yes.
I guess so.
I'm Justin Schuler, co-host of the Kickin Show with Jerry Jordan. Jerry's actually out this week, so it's pretty much just our show today. But we got Zach Catanza ready with us. Zach, how are you doing?
Much better without Jerry here. I feel like I can finally speak my opinion, and even on this Zoom call, I feel like there's more room for us to move around.
Oh, wow. Should I edit that out? Timestamp.
Keep it in, screw it.
And we got our Motorsports expert in the house as well, Seth Eggert. Seth, how are you doing?
Doing well, and I don't know if I want to say I have no part in any of those ideas, or if I want to take part in it.
Well,
I think we'll split it down the middle.
We can plead the fifth if we have to, right? All right. Well, before we get into the eNASCAR news and recapping Dover weekend with another repeat winner, which I'm pretty sure nobody had on their books as the second driver to get their second win of the season, but we'll get to that soon. And our Darlington picks, we'll have that at the end of the show like usual.
Dover. Or
not Dover, Coda. Oh my gosh, I'm going backwards. Yeah, so I'm going backwards. Maybe we do need Jerry back on the show. Anyway, we got Coda predictions. First time NASCAR has ever been at Circuit of the Americas, which I got some cool stuff with that a little bit later on the show. But Seth, we'll start with you. Some big news dropping, especially with possibly some fantasy changes on the forefront and possibly a new co-owner / driver in the field. Why don't you go ahead and give us a little breakdown on what's going on?
Yeah, Jim Utter of Motorsport broke the news earlier this week that Brad Keselowski has been offered a co-ownership role and the number 6 car at Roush Fenway Racing. So that would mean he's leaving Team Penske. Newman's future is up in the air. Roush also announced yesterday that they re-upped with Fastenal, I believe for another 4 years, if I remember correctly. But Brad has been a team owner before in the Truck Series. He was quite successful there. He didn't win any championships there, came close. But I do remember he always said, at least in the Truck Series, he was losing somewhere around $1 million a year. In the Cup Series, he has, at least recently, expressed wanting to be a team owner. And it was as recently as 2019 that he was saying that he wanted to be an owner with essentially an alliance with Roger Penske if he could. Obviously, he re-upped with Team Penske for this season. It's a 1-year deal. If he leaves Penske, that opens up the 2 maybe for DiBenedetto to move over there and Cindric still take the 21. Or Cindric just hops directly into the number 2 and DiBenedetto stays in the 21. Penske has mentioned that they still have an option with DiBenedetto for next year. So it shakes that up. It shakes up whether or not Roush could go back to 3 cars to accommodate Newman, or if Newman maybe retires. There's a whole lot of speculation that can go into this. And there is a lot of dominoes to fall because you also have other teams looking for charters. Trackhouse is looking to buy one right now. They're leasing. 2311 is looking at a second one. Colleague is looking to buy one. And possibly Junior Motorsports is looking to buy one. If we add Roush to that, that's 5 teams looking to buy, or possibly 3 to 4 charters on the market.
Yikes. Yeah, Zach, what are your thoughts on all this? Obviously, like Seth said, there's a lot of dominoes that got to fall in place. Do you think Newman's possibly going to go to a 3rd car, or do you think he's going to take some sort of management role over at Roush?
I don't know. Newman's always been a really interesting character when it comes to his career. And, we've known him for obviously a long time. He's been in the sport for so long. And I think he's been with 3 or 4 different teams now, but he's been with Roush for a few years. And I don't know. I feel like if this I want to think about it because he's been solid this year. Him and Buescher have both been pretty good numbers. They've been hitting that top 10 a little bit more commonly. I know last year was really tough on him, especially after the Daytona accident. The year before that, I mean, he blew my expectations out of the water. In 2019, made the playoffs, and I can see them going to a third car. It just depend, like the Fastenal thing. That was a big deal to have a partner like that step up and return. But yeah, with Newman, it's tough. I think he's definitely in the final years of his career. He might not want to hang it up, but I mean, I think someone like him would appreciate going out on his own terms, which I don't know if these would be considered his own terms if if he's kind of getting butted out of a ride and there's no options for next year. But I think he would want to be in something competitive for 2022. So we'll see how that goes. And I think Keselowski, Seth, you mentioned Brad Keselowski Racing in the Truck Series. I mean, that was an interesting team. They were successful. They did win, but it was tough because I mean, Brad was fairly new on that side of the sport, and he had a lot of rookie drivers, a lot of young guys like Reddick and Daniel Hemrick and Cindric and Chase Briscoe. I mean, all these guys who've grown into champions and Xfinity Cup winners. They haven't, at the time, they just had a lot to learn, and so did Brad. And there's a lot of issues that went on, but I think overall he did a really good job. And I was disappointed when he pulled out. I understood, but just seeing him and Harvick pulled out of the Xfinity Series, about a half a decade before then, and I was disappointed to see these drivers who are not only younger because all these owners are getting older and older, of course, but they're still in their prime as a race car driver. So to see them not make it into ownership, I was hoping that they would come back and give it a second try years down the line. And this might be that opportunity for Brad, and Roush can definitely use the help. I think having someone like him with that business experience behind him, I think it could be a huge help for Brad and all of Roush.
And not only that, but Brad likely, granted, this is a little bit of speculation, but Discount Tires tied more with Brad than it is with Team Penske. So they may follow him to Roush as well, which Discount Tire way back when sponsored, I believe it was David Reagan in the Xfinity Series at Roush at one time.
Yeah.
So that would be a homecoming in that sense as well. But Keselowski's old race shop is now Keselowski Advanced Manufacturing. I think it's a 3D printing company, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I was about to say he's got a very successful 3D printing company.
Yeah.
So he's got some big companies that really have the funds to be able to put forth to get a successful team up and running. And when you get someone who knows how to run a cup team, or well, not a cup team necessarily, but who knows how to run a race team like Brad Keselowski, because for those who've been around the sport for a while, he ran a really successful truck team all those years ago. And you get him with someone like Ryan Newman. You get him teamed up with someone like Jack Roush, who's really coming up on the end of his career here. He's getting ready to retire, obviously, but you get him coupled up with those kind of people together, and then a young driver like Chris Buescher. You get Brad Keselowski, who's won a cup championship in that 6 car to possibly finish out his career, and then get ready to find another young driver in there. Roush is going to find their way back up to the top very quickly, very quickly.
And just to cap off his truck team legacy, of the 7 full-time drivers that he had, 5 of them are either still full-time in NASCAR, either in Cup or Xfinity, or in Parker Clearman's case, part-time in trucks and also a broadcaster on pit road for NASCAR on NBC and IMSA on NBC as well.
And you know who else was really successful at finding some long-term drivers, people in the industry for NASCAR? Dale Jr. And guess who Dale Jr. brought into NASCAR?
Mm-hmm.
Brad Keselowski. He's got some direct knowledge straight from Jr. on how to do all that stuff, and he's literally just hitting that gas pedal all the way down to the floor right now. He's taking full advantage of every opportunity. So again, it's not official. It was just an offer, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with that in the future here. Moving on though, Zach, like we said earlier at the beginning of the show, we're going to COTA, Circuit of the Americas. First time NASCAR has ever been there. IndyCar raced there back in 2019. Obviously the pandemic kind of shuffled up the schedule. There have been a lot of legendary drivers that have raced on that track before, a lot of very prestigious series. NASCAR finally getting their cut at it. But with that said, just like the old days, we get to bring back some road course ringers. So why don't you go ahead and share with everyone a bit of the entry list from all three series and who are some of the big names that kind of stick out to you?
Boy, it's quite a few. I was going down pretty much all this week. A couple names have been added here and there. But starting with the truck series, we had 44 entered. One betting withdrew, so I believe that would be 43 now. A lot of debuts we're looking at. We're looking at guys like Brad Gross, Samuel LeCompte, John Atwell, Logan Bearden, all these guys attempting their first truck start. And then Cameron Lawrence, he's a class winner at Daytona in the Rolex 24. And he'll be running with Rayom Brothers in that number 33. A lot of these guys were smaller teams, but then we get to guys like Camden Murphy, he just got his career best truck series finish at Daytona on their Roval. He finished 13th there with Nemco. Now he's going to be with Spencer Davis in that number 11 truck. He's been working with them for a little bit, but that's his first time actually racing that truck. Then Paul Menard, that was a shocker. We had a few guys running this weekend that pretty much hung it up just a few years ago, but now they're coming back randomly. The truck series has been known for this with, Bill Lester and Eric Darnell, like these guys who haven't run races in decades. Menard hasn't run a race since 2007, and now he's coming back. He's in the fifth Thor Sport truck. He's running the 66, so that's going to be interesting to see someone with that type of experience run on COTA. Then we go to the Xfinity Series, same amount, I believe 43 cars entered. Some interesting names here. I was looking at Kevin Harvick, who's running his first Xfinity start since 2018. He's with BJ McLeod in that number 5 for usually driven by Matt Mills, but Harvick is in that car. Really just to get experience for Sunday. I mean, I think he did the same thing with the Bristol Dirt Race, running the truck series just to get more added seat time. He ran the iRace last night. Then we got Spencer Pompelli. He's another one of those sports car talents. He'll be attempting his debut, I believe, with JD Motorsports. Then we have Miguel Paludo. He ran that number 8 for Junior Motorsports a couple months ago. Daytona and the road course got a top 10, so he's going to be back again. Brazilian, so that's great to see. Boris said that very similar to Menard. He was a guy who pretty much hung it up. He wasn't really looking to come back, but he said, I mean, I think he's 58 years old and he was looking to play shuffleboard, but he's like, I can't give up this racing deal. This is just too much fun, and he's open to running more races in the future. So, but he's making his first Xfinity start since 2015, and his first national start since 17. He ran Cup a little bit there. So, but he's got a little bit of work to do. He's got to get that Carl Long Motorsports car up to snuff to even be a little bit more competitive than what that car would usually be. Cole Custer kind of doing what Harvick is doing. He's in the Rick Ware number 17 just to get more experience. Kyle Busch running his first Xfinity start of the year. Austin Dillon with the Ronnie Bassett Jr. number 77, more experience for Sunday. And Andy Lally as well, who's going to be running that 23, which has been pretty solid. Even on ovals. I know Tyler Reddick almost won in that car at Homestead, and it runs pretty well. So I think Andy Lally can definitely at least have a top 10 run in that thing. Then Cup, it's a little easier. It usually is. It's really hard to get into a really competitive Cup car or just a Cup car at all. I mean, a lot of these teams have kind of hunkered down and started focusing on more full-time drivers. Josh Bilicki has been running most of the season, James Davison. So we don't see even Wickware Racing kind of shuffling guys out. But we do have AJ Allmendinger with a colleague. He ran Daytona road course and ran super well on that 16, got top 10. Usually when that 16 wins a cup race, it's pretty darn competitive, whether it's at Daytona or road course. So I think Allmendinger is going to do really well. Austin Cindric, he's in the 33 for Penske again. I think his fifth or sixth cup start, and I think this is going to be one of his better opportunities. Then Kyle Tilley, we talked about him last week, running for BJ McLeod, making his debut from the sports car background. So a lot of names here, a lot of guys we haven't seen in many years. I love the variety. I love the versatility of all these backgrounds. We got like sports car guys. We got a monster truck driver. We got guys who have never run anything. Guys coming back after 15 years away. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and obviously a lot of unknowns for this entire weekend.
Seth, out of that whole list, who do you think's going to outperform the other new guys coming into the scene here?
Well, out of the list, I'll break it down by series to try to make it somewhat easier. In the Cup Series, you only have Kyle Tilley, who is the non-regular. Yes, you also have AJ Allmendinger, but AJ's been around the sport for so long, I don't know if it's really fair to call him a ringer anymore. In the Xfinity Series, you have such a wide variety. I think I'd have to go with Spencer Pumpelly or Preston Pardus. The two of them, at least Pardus, in the few starts he's made for Mario Gosselin, has a handful of top 10s, and I think at the Daytona Road Course earlier this year, he was running inside the top 5 until late restart. He got put into the mud. Spencer Pumpelly, it's his NASCAR debut, so it should be interesting to see what he can do. In the Truck Series, the Truck Series is probably the most diverse one that we have, with so many different road course ringers, people coming back to make a start like Paul Menard, or even up-and-coming drivers making their Truck Series debut like Jack Wood, who's a GMS development driver. At least for the Truck Series, one of the ones I find the most interesting is Michelle Abate. I think I pronounced her name correctly. She's driving for On Point Motorsports in the number 30 Toyota. In Trans Am racing, she got the first ever podium finish by a woman in the TA2 class last year at Sonoma. And I believe she, if I remember correctly, she won earlier this year as well in Trans Am competition. So I want to say she might be one of the ones to watch. Granted, the equipment On Point Motorsports, they've had good equipment and they've had not so good equipment. So it depends. And I'm going to throw one more wrinkle into this for Xfinity and trucks. There's a 90% chance of rain on Saturday.
Of what?
Of rain.
Say that again. Of what? Okay, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah,
Rain
got rain on
and there are rain tires.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think on Sunday it's a 30% chance.
It never rains for the Cup Series, only for Xfinity trucks.
Although we did get to run in the damp at the Roval last year.
The damp. They're not like...
Hey, it's better than nothing so far. It's better than nothing so far.
Yeah. You've seen Xfinity cars like downpour.
Or monsoon like last year.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, I know you mentioned pretty much everybody there. Miguel Paludo is the one I'm kind of watching because he's in that number 8 junior motorsports car. Josh Berry's already won with that this year at Martinsville, so I feel like he's got a solid shot of going for a win, if not a really good finish out there at Circuit of the Americas with that. So, no, it'll be interesting to see, guys. Circuit of the Americas, I know NASCAR's been adding a lot of road courses to the schedule, so here we go. This is where we're going to start seeing some new stuff. With Circuit of the Americas, too, I mean, we've seen a lot of first laps at different road courses or first restarts or whatever be quite entertaining. I mean, remember back at the Roval when everyone went right into that Tums barrier wall, right? So
the heartburn turn.
Oh gosh, what were some other ones? I know Jimmy Johnson had that massive crash in turn 1 at Watkins Glen back in 2000 when his throttle got stuck. You've got tons of guys that flipped at Sonoma in turn 1.
Or maybe one more reason. It's not turn 1 though. Bubba Wallace at the Roval
lot of guys at that.
Oh,
At that
yeah.
before they moved the tire barrier back.
Yeah,
At that back chicane, yeah, it was
and
Bubba
they were
Wallace
joking.
and Eric Jones or whatever.
Yeah, they were joking about it on the Pro Invitational broadcast last night when they were talking to Bubba about his hit with that. And Bubba's comment was, well, y'all said it needed to be moved, so I went and moved it.
Pretty much. Yeah, and you could even throw in karting too. The FIA Karting Euro Championship had everyone go green on the first lap. Everyone
and
on slicks,
rained
and
when they entered turn 1.
And everybody just plowed into the wall. It was probably about like turn 8 or so, a little bit later.
And it
in
was
the lap.
like it was somewhere around 12 to 15 of the like 20 starters, something like that.
Oh gosh, yeah. I'll see if I can get a clip and share that here because it was both quite entertaining and scary all at the same time. Thankfully, everyone got out okay. But all right, one quick little tidbit of news before Seth shares some iRacing. But basically, I know a lot of people have been following President Biden's whole plan with the $1.9 trillion, what he calls the American Rescue Plan. Part of those federal funds have all kind of trickled down and been broken down state by state. And what has just been released, actually, and this was kind of broken by Brett Baldick over at Fox 46, but basically Governor Cooper of North Carolina has basically broken down $45 million of that to help local tracks and renovations with racetracks. Basically, how it's going to be broken down is North Wilkesboro, Charlotte Motor Speedway, and Rockingham are each going to receive $10 million each, and an additional $10 million, making that $40 million. So an additional $10 million is going to go to what they call, quote, motorsports and outdoor event opportunities grants. $5 million is going to go to natural and tourism trails. So I'm guessing probably some natural trails, camping grounds for people who like to just take their dirt bikes out into the wilderness or whatnot. $5 million going to that. So that's going to be a total of $45 million into renovation and improvements. Those were the kind of the two words used in the document. One thing that kind of caught me a little off guard, and I think a lot of people overlooked, is that the expected impact is that all 3 tracks, I'm not sure if this is going to be a requirement for them to keep the funds, but it says that all 3 tracks will host at least 5 new outdoor events in the next 3 years. So if you look at, for example, Rockingham, they currently already host the Cars Tour and various music events there at that track. So they've got a couple opportunities there for expansion and growth and hosting more races, more music events, concerts, and stuff like that. Charlotte Motor Speedway obviously is Charlotte Motor Speedway, so there's not really much of a concern there. They already draw a pretty large crowd, lots of different events, lots of different race clubs, both local and national with NASCAR and all that stuff. So they're probably already in the books for that kind of stuff. North Wilkesboro, though, is really the question on the table right now. And it kind of brings up this thought of Marcus Lemonis, who's already invested a lot into the truck series, invested a lot into the various teams, wants to invest into a track. He's already shown interest in North Wilkesboro. Does him and Dale Jr. team up to get this track renovated to host a NASCAR race again? What do you guys think?
Well, it would definitely take names like that with the resources and the experience that they have and the interest that they have. I know that track needs a lot of work, but it's definitely worth the investment. I feel. I mean, we saw how Rockingham kind of worked out with the Truck Series years back, and you hope that this can be one of those success stories. But as I said, it needs a lot of work, and I think Boyer said that after all these years, it would pretty much be like a new racetrack, which is actually a good thing, I feel, because of all the improvements that it would need, and just after, decades, it would just be like a brand new place. And it would be refreshing to see that piece of history, and they would take care of it like it's a historic facility. They're not just gonna turn it into a brand new place, but it needs a lift me up, and it needs that modern twist, because that's what it didn't get back in the day. That's why Martinsville and a lot of tracks survived, but North Wilkesboro kind of fell by the wayside because it just wasn't renovated, wasn't taken care of. A lot of other issues, of course, but I think if we can get that type of help by guys like that who have that historic foot in the sport, but also the business sense, those two guys come together, I'm sure it can work out.
Meanwhile, for me, I mentioned this pre-show. One of the things I was hoping for, because we've had this new interest in dirt track racing for the Cup Series, the Xfinity Series, the Truck Series, maybe bringing North Wilkesboro back as a dirt track like how it was back in the 40s and the 50s. But a part of this plan lists track repavement for North Wilkesboro. So if they're going to repave the track, obviously it's not going to be a dirt track. That being said, Marcus Lemos has already pledged to putting $1 million towards North Wilkesboro, as long as he can also build a small camping world somewhere. I don't know if it's on property or near the property, but within a reasonable distance, I would say. So between that, I'm sure that would attract other businesses, because if you're going to build a store like Camping World, you're going to need a restaurant relatively close by. You're going to need a neighborhood relatively close by. You're going to need all these other businesses to come in. So that would revitalize the area as well. And like you said, it would almost be like a new track. I'm just sitting here thinking about it. I can think of maybe 5 teams that are currently competing in the Cup Series that have competed at North Wilkesboro. Hendrick, Roush, RCR, Wood Brothers, and technically RPM, although back then it was Petty Enterprises. And maybe Team Penske.
Yeah.
Yeah,
what, 96? Was there
96.
96, yeah. That's the year I was born. That's crazy. Damn.
I was 5.
That's why.
Don't tell Jerry that. He'll make fun of us.
Make fun of us for being young?
Yeah, right? He's just jealous. That's all it is.
Okay.
No, and it kind of reminds me too, because out here in California, we have some tracks that they used to run at, like Riverside, Ontario, and then you have Saga Speedway, which used to host, I think they had 2 or maybe 3 truck races, which are not even an hour away from here. And then obviously too, if you go the other way, there's Kern County Raceway, and then Willow Springs too, which is a very prestigious, worldwide known road course out here. So it'll be interesting to see if this does end up being successful over the next 3-5 years, if some of these other tracks that have kind of been worn down kind of follow suit, and maybe see if they go through some renovations and maybe one of these days host a Cup race. I would love to see NASCAR up here at Willow Springs. That track is heck of fun.
Yeah, so, I think I want to say Hickory is supposed to be having some sort of renovation at some point. And up in Virginia, they just built maybe 4 or 5 years ago Dominion Raceway. And you also have improvements over at South Boston now that Pocono Raceway is involved with the ownership of South Boston. And I'll even throw in Lime Rock Park up in Connecticut that Parker Claremont now co-owns. So there's a lot of tracks, historic and brand new, that are either undergoing changes or breathing new life into new opportunities for NASCAR to go to. Maybe even post-pandemic, up in Canada, you have what was Cayuga Speedway, now Chicasa, which went major improvements. I think they even had some help from Jeff Gordon in suggestions, and it is probably capable of hosting a truck or Xfinity, if not even a Cup race, on the oval there.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and keep going on down through our list. Let's start going through some recaps of this past week and weekend. So, Seth, we'll start with you with some of the eNASCAR racing, Monday night racing, and we had our 4th round of the eNASCAR Pro Invitational Series.
Well, Monday night racing, Justin, you were spotting me, and
wait, no, we could skip this. That's pain. Let's skip this. At least I didn't say you were clear, unlike TJ Majors and some of the other guys who thought they were clear.
Well, what I was gonna say is you and Dylan Freeble both helped me go from being somewhere around 2 seconds off the pace to only being about 0.3 off the pace. I just wasn't consistent enough.
No, but you were hitting some good laps. Like it's tough. Dirt racing is tough.
Yeah.
Because I grew up on the dirt, so I know what it's like. It's not easy. It's not easy. You can hit that one magic lap, and that's great. And then you're like, okay, I'm flying into this corner, and that extra 5-10 miles an hour you carrying that next corner, no, it's a whole different world at that point.
Anyway, it was at the Bristol Dirt Track for those who don't know, and it was won by Shane Van Gisbergen from the Repco Supercar Series in Australia, finishing second and third in an entertaining finish where Max Kennan and David Schildhaus, once he realized that they weren't going to catch Van Gisbergen, decided just to hook Kennan, even though he knew he wasn't going to get by Kennan, flipped Kennan onto his side, and Anthony Alfredo had a front row seat of that. So, but it was all in good hearted nature. They were joking about it after the race. And there's actually a story on it that I wrote for Podium Esports that went up earlier today. So if you're inclined, check that out. Otherwise, over here at Kickin' Tires, there are some recaps of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series and the eNASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series. For the Coca-Cola Series, 2311's Mitchell DeYoung performed a grand slam. He won the pole, had the fastest lap, led every lap, and won the race. He had a little assist in that, even though he won the pole. It was expected to be a battle between him and Bobby Zelensky in the Letarte Esports 83. Justin, you were talking about turn one and the incidents in turn one?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, defending champion Nick Ottinger locked up the brakes and wiped out Zelensky in turn one.
Yeah!
Behind him, Ottinger's teammate Logan Clampett locked up the brakes and wiped out Stewart Haas Esports' Dylan Duvall. In total, in turn one, out of the 40 cars, 18 cars were involved in the wreck.
No, that was on lap one, like at the start, right?
Lap one, turn one. But
right.
On iRacing, on road courses, there are no full course yellows.
Oh, no, that sucks.
So it was just a local yellow. Mitchell DeYoung, who I'm going to go through some of his stats, okay? This is why he was considered one of the favorites. He was runner-up in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series in the F1 cars in 2018. He finished on the podium in the point standings in the Virtual Racing School GT iRacing World Championship in 2017, 2018, and 2019. He also won the iRacing Rallycross World Championship in 2018. Right now, he's second in points in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup on iRacing. And, oh, by the way, he's a former Red Bull athlete who has actually won in the Red Bull Global Rallycross when that was a thing, the real-life series. So Mitchell has quite a pedigree both in real life and on iRacing when it comes to road course racing. Moving on to the Pro Invitational, I've been saying for a while that this was going to be James Davison's night because road course racing, especially on iRacing, is his bread and butter. He qualified on the pole. He beat Anthony Alfredo by 18 seconds for the win.
Yeah, it was no contest. It was basically everyone's racing for every other position but first.
Except for Clint Boyer. Clint Boyer was it.
Oh yeah, Clint Boyer. Clint Boyer was trying to ruin that for sure.
Yeah. Now, one thing I do want to say, because it wasn't mentioned on the broadcast on FS1, although when I asked James in the post-race Zoom about it, iRacing is donating $5,000 to the charity of the choice of each winner of the Pro Invitational. For James Davison, he's choosing the Greatest Generations Foundation, which what they do is they take veterans from World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, and bring them back to the battlefields in which they fought on. And they also educate the newest generation, whether it's Gen Z, millennials, on what those men did to give us the life that we have today. So I just wanted to make sure that was mentioned because it wasn't mentioned on FS1, and I don't know if it was mentioned during James in his Sirius XM interview last night. There is some other iRacing news, but this is not racing related. iRacing and NASCAR Salutes are teaming up. There will be the NASCAR Salutes iRacing experience at Charlotte in the Charlotte Fan Zone during the Coke 600 weekend. There's going to be 4 one-of-a-kind simulators that are being built by SimSeats, being paid for by Coca-Cola and iRacing. The computers are coming from ASUS, the wheels and pedals coming from Logitech, and the chassis are coming from PlaySeat. Race fans will have the opportunity to go and try to put their fastest lap times on the top of the leaderboard. They will have some of the Coke Series drivers, the Coca-Cola iRacing Series drivers, come and post their fastest times and give tips and tricks on how to get around Charlotte Motor Speedway on iRacing. And then after the weekend, these simulators are being donated to the USO. The USO is going to then gift 2 of them to the military base Fort Eustis, and the other 2 to the military base Fort Bragg. That way, soldiers, family members will have a unique way to go and experience the thrill of NASCAR and iRacing. Sunoco is going to sponsor the Richmond Raceway esports drivers in the Coca-Cola 300 Tuesday night. They're going to donate $500 to their Honor and Remember Foundation. And if a Richmond Raceway driver wins the poll, they're going to add $100 to that. For every lap a Richmond Raceway driver leads, they're going to add another $1. And then, based on finishing positions, they will add either another $150 down to another $10 each for each driver.
That's awesome. How many laps and how many Richmond drivers are there?
There's 2 Richmond drivers, and it is a 300-mile race, so it is believe it is a 200-lap race. It's half distance of the real-life Coke 600.
Gotcha. Well, cool. That's really neat. Love to see stuff like that happening. And NASCAR is really good. A lot of the drivers and teams are really good at doing stuff like that. So that's awesome. Awesome. Cool. Well, let's move on. Quick little update with SRX, and then we'll start talking about Dover. I know if you guys noticed, I put on Twitter earlier this week on Monday that there were going to be 3 new drivers announced, and sure enough, SRX announced on Wednesday that 3 new drivers, all part-time, are going to be Greg Biffle, Scott Speed, and Scott Bloomquist. Biffle and Speed are both going to be running 2 races, while Bloomquist is going to be running just 1 race this year. Now, there wasn't really any clarification on if there's a change in the points or if there's going to be a change in the total number of drivers on track. So I'm assuming it's still going to be 12 drivers with the 12 main drivers with a 13th car being one of these part-time drivers. Obviously, everyone knows Greg Biffle. If you've been following NASCAR, the 2000 NASCAR Truck Series champion, 2002 Xfinity Series champion. He's got 19 Cup Series victories under his belt. And then obviously coming back with Kyle Busch Motorsports, winning at Texas after that long time out of the seat. So great to see him get back involved. And he was also in one of the pictures that SRX had put up, he was kind of in the background, so it was kind of already leaked out on that front. Scott Speed, if you've been following motorsports, you know that name already. He's been competing in Formula One. He raced there in 2006, 2007. He eventually came to NASCAR, rose all the way up to the Cup level with Team Red Bull back when they were running and fielding two cars in the Cup Series. And then over the last 8 to 10 years or so, he's really been making his mark with Rallycross and the X Games when they've been doing that. In fact, he won 3 gold medals from 2013 to 2015 for Team USA, and then 5 consecutive Rallycross championships from 2013 to 2017 racing with Andretti Autosports. So he was probably the most pumped to get involved in it. He was really excited to get going and all that stuff. And then Scott Bloomquist, I know for people who are more focused on the national series, probably might not really recognize this name, but if you are really involved with any of the short tracks, or if you've even gone to any short track race and you've seen this name in the entry list, you've definitely heard of him. He's won over 600 dirt late model events over the span of about 40 years or so. 94 of those came with the Lucas Oil Dirt National Series, 33 by the World of Outlaws. He's a 9-time national champion. He's an 8-time winner of the Dirt Car Nationals, an 8-time winner of the Dirt Late Model Dream at Eldora, and a 4-time winner of the World 100 at Eldora. So he has got probably the most decorated name when it comes to local short tracks, dirt late models, and stuff like that. So Scott Bloomquist going to be one of the big ones. I think he's going to be racing at Eldora. If not, then it's the Knoxville dirt race. I know it's going to be one of the dirt races that SRX has got put on. So huge names there with SRX. So we're going to be really exciting. They start June 12th at Stafford. So I personally am really excited about this series. I think Tony's done a fine job with the inaugural season, and knowing him, he's just going to make this blow up even more and more. So, but let's go ahead and go on to Dover, guys. Let's talk about that. And I think if we were to say that, Martin Truex Jr. was going to be the first guy to have multiple wins under his belt this year, we would have, there'd probably be a good chunk of people out there that would have had that on their Vegas card, right? But how many of us would have said that Alex Bowman would be the next repeat winner in 2021?
Definitely not me. If he went winless, I would have not really thought anything of it. Because that 48 card didn't necessarily end up on the winners list. And before this year, he only had 2 career wins. So I really didn't see him winning a whole lot this year. But yeah, it was an unbelievable run. He ended up leading nearly 100 laps. Obviously, Hendrick got a 1, 2, 3, 4, which was just absolutely astonishing. And it wasn't really a fluke at all. I mean, they ran there for a long time. I think they led all but 15 laps. And Larson, I was shocked that he wasn't able to get to the 48 and do something. He led so much the race, 263 laps, and let another one go. I don't know if Jerry was watching, but him going for 5 wins this year, he's not giving himself any breaks here. But it was a crazy piece of history to see those guys finish 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, for one thing, for Larson, whenever he's led over 220 laps, I want to say, in a Cup race, he has failed to win.
How many times?
Every time.
It's like 6 or 7 times now.
This is like the 7th time, I believe. But
yeah, it's crazy.
But also for Hendrick finishing 1, 2, 3, 4, they're only the 2nd team in the modern era to do it, after Roush did it at Homestead in 2005.
Yep. And that was back when Roush had 5 cars, right?
Yes. And at times they even ran 6.
Yeah. And
they're also only the 3rd team in NASCAR history to do it. In the 50s, Pete DiPaolo, I think I'm pronouncing the name correctly.
DiPaolo, yeah.
Yeah. Twice had his teams finish 1, 2, 3, 4. Once at North Wilkesboro, I believe in 1955, and the other time at Titusville in 1956. Otherwise, no team, at least in the Cup Series, has ever finished 1, 2, 3, 4. Joe Gibbs Racing almost did it in 2019 until Eric Jones was disqualified.
Oh, that's right, because they were 1, 2, 3, 4, and then Jones was disqualified, right? Or something like that. I can't remember.
Yes, Jones was disqualified from a third place finish, I believe.
Weren't they 1, 2, 3 at the Daytona 500?
Yes, Hendrick was 1, 2, 3 at the 97 Daytona 500.
No, I mean Gibbs. I think Joe Gibbs.
Yes,
was that the one that was 2019? Or was that the one that Eric was disqualified from?
No, Eric was disqualified at Richmond.
Okay, I'm thinking Daytona. They were at least 1, 2. I thought 1, 2, 3.
And then wasn't Stuart Haas also close a couple of years ago to a 1, 2, 3, 4?
I think they ended up 1, 2, 3, and 5 or something like that.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because I knew that they had something real close to that. But yeah,
it just shows you how hard that is to do. Like, I mean, I guess eventually it's going to happen once every 50 years or twice every 50 years or so. But even Rick, they were showing him on pit road and he was getting emotional. I mean, he wanted it so bad, and it takes a lot to get 4 cars in the top 10. You know what I mean? I mean, just to have no issues and to get everything right with the competition it is, but to sweep the top 4 spots and like convincingly so, that was one of the biggest days in the history of that race team.
Yeah, and that goes to show the talent of everyone too, not just the drivers, but all the pit crew members. Like you said, having to nail every single thing everywhere. That's tough.
And one of the things they also nailed was the strategy. Late race, the top 8, including all 4 Hendrick cars, stayed out on old tires. And Logano, who was one of the last ones to take tires, was only able to get up to 5th. He wasn't able to run down William Byron. So they also had the right strategy call as well. Had they pitted, they might not have been able to get back up there, let alone get back up there in the same order with all 4 in the top 4. But the strategy call also gave Daniel Suarez his second top 10 of the year, and Bubba Wallace, then 23-11, their best finish as a team so far in 11th.
Yeah, and with William Byron too, since obviously Hendrick went 1, 2, 3, 4, Byron extends that top 10 streak now to 11. It's crazy to believe he started the year 26th in the Daytona 500, 33rd at the Daytona Road Course. Then after his win at Homestead, all top 10 finishes, and a good majority of those too have been top 5s, especially recently. A 4th at Martinsville, a 2nd at Talladega, 4th at Darlington, and 4th at Dover.
And that's at like every single type of racetrack imaginable, like from dirt to road courses, to short tracks, intermediates. I mean, just absolutely everything. He's killing it this year. He's finally hitting that potential that we saw a couple years ago. Took him a few years in Cup, but I really think he's getting there now.
Yeah, like you said, like every kind of track imaginable except for a road course. The only thing that hasn't been in that streak there is a road course, and here we are coming up on one. So that's a question. Is this where his top 10 streak ends, or does he keep going?
He didn't win the iRace, so
he did finish top 5 in the NASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational, though.
It wasn't a win.
I know. But to be fair, and I think William will probably say this, road courses on iRacing are not his strong suit. I mean, James Davison finished top 5 in every single Pro Invitational so far, so he's a well-rounded driver. And as Justin knows, I'm not good on dirt, but I'm good on road courses and ovals. So we all have our own specialties, so to speak.
Our own little perks, exactly. I like the little Miata races. Those are fun.
You would love Moon Car then. But moving on from the Cup Series, the Xfinity Series was also in action at Dover. We had Austin Cindric winning. He didn't dominate, but he was up front at the right time and just ran away with it. Josh Berry finished second beating out Justin Allgaier for the Dash for Cash. And we also had a strange wreck in which Matt Jaskell, who's the spotter for Marco Andretti at the Indy 500, ending up on top of Jesse Little's car.
That's a big one. That's just the type of wrecks you see at Dover, dude. You don't see those anywhere else. So weird.
Pretty much.
Maybe a super speedway or a road course.
Yeah, but
even like that, like when you're laying on
Yeah.
top of the car and sit there, that was weird. Like you
Yeah.
can throw cars together 100 times, and that's tough to do.
And I feel bad for Carl Long's MBM Motorsports, as well as Josh Williams and DGM Racing, because both of them had the wreck avoided. Then, at least for Williams, he got run over by Matt Mills, turning him into the wall. And Kyle Letterman hooked Matt Jaskell into the 78 after the 78 had come to a stop.
that's rough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up, guys. Let's talk about Circuit of the Americas. Let's get our picks in. So, Seth, who is first to pick? Because I've got a couple people that texted me in their picks. So,
Well, the first to pick would be your lovely wife, Rachel.
only because she picked last week, because she ended up losing points.
Yes.
All right.
But you
so
get to tell her that.
yeah. Right. All right, so let's see. So for truck, she doesn't have a pick. For Xfinity, I know a couple of us are going to do this, so I'm okay with us doing multiple picks for Xfinity. She's going to go with Austin Cindric and Xfinity, which is obviously one of the easy choices there. And then for her Cup pick is going to be Ryan Blaney.
Okay, then.
Good one.
Now, next to pick is Matt Corson.
And Matt, I don't think Matt, you did not send me anything.
So after Matt, next person to pick is Sarah, and she sent her picks in to us.
Yep.
I know for the Cup Series she's picking AJ Allmendinger. Who else is she picking, Justin?
She's got Kaz Grala in trucks and Max Paluto in Xfinity.
Miguel Pluto.
Or Miguel Pluto, I'm sorry.
And then after Sarah, the next person to make a pick is Summer, which, again, I have not gotten a pick from her as of yet.
Same. I have not gotten anything on my end either. So
after Summer, you get to pick, Justin.
Oh, that means I suck this year. Oh gosh. All right. So I'm just gonna go easy picks this weekend. So John Hunter Nemechek in trucks. Kyle Busch is on the entry list for Xfinity, so I'm gonna go with him. And then for Cup Series, I mean, you can't not pick this guy right now. He's just a road course warrior. You got to go with Chase Elliott.
Okay, well, now that Justin's made his picks, I can pick. And for trucks, I'm going to go with Kaz Grala. For the Xfinity Series, I'm going to go with AJ Allmendinger. And for the Cup Series, I'm going to pick him 2 weeks in a row, even though last week was not one of his better weeks. I'm going to go with the other road course ace in the Cup Series as of recently, Martin Truex Jr. So the next person to pick, and I have not received any picks from him. I don't know if you have, Justin, but the next person to pick is Jerry.
Yeah, he actually texted those over to me, and he's got Kaz Grala in the trucks, Austin Cindric in Xfinity. So again, and we've had a couple repeats of those. But his pick for Cup is Joey Logano in the 22.
And after Jerry, the next person to pick is Christian.
I think he sent those to me on here. Yes, he did. Haha. All right. So Christian Coeli, our ARCA specialist, he's got Sheldon Creed in the trucks, Boris Said in Xfinity, which oh man, Boris Said that's a solid pick for Xfinity. And for Cup Series, Michael McDowell.
Well, Zach, you're the last one to pick.
Yep. It's the one negative of being the championship leader. He got to go through everyone's picks.
And this time, your choices aren't limited by just one or two that are picked beforehand. You're limited by about 6 that have already been taken.
Yeah, people are starting to pick more, so making it a little tougher on me. All right, for trucks, this is a tough one. I'm going to go with Ben Rhodes. I don't think anyone picked Ben. He's coming off the Daytona Road Course win, so I'm going to go with him. He's been hot this year. For Xfinity, I'm going to go. Every time I pick Justin Allgaier, he does really, really well. I picked him the last 2 weeks, and he finished first and third, I think. So I'm going to go with Allgaier again. He's really good on road courses, too. And then for Cup, I'm going to go with Denny Hamlin. He's got 2 top 3s at the Daytona Road Course. He's a Watkins Glen winner. Last 4 years or so, he's really been turning his road course numbers around overall. So I'm going to go with Hamlin for Cup.
Okay, then. And that is our predictions for COTA. Although I will make one more prediction, and I don't know if either of you want to make this prediction or not. Will we or will we not race in the rain on Sunday?
Oh goodness, I hope so.
I hope so, man. I think we're going to do I think it's going to be like partial rain.
Well,
because it's such a track.
Well,
damp doesn't count, Seth.
I know. But so far it's better than nothing. But anyway, right now, Saturday is a 90% chance of thunderstorms, and that's Xfinity and trucks that are supposed to have a doubleheader. The only thing that will stop them is lightning. So the only time I hope for lightning is qualifying, so we have 40 cars and 40 trucks.
It just always happens. It always happens when we have qualifying this year. Like the Bristol dirt race that got rained out. I was so angry about that. And now we finally get practice in qualifying, and now that might be up in the air. Ugh.
Now, aside from that, the Cup Series is a 30% chance of rain. I kind of hope it only rains for part of the race, and then NASCAR lets the teams actually choose when to put on rain tires, not throwing a random yellow because it's raining in one specific corner, a la the Daytona Road Course.
Yeah, that'll be tough. Real quick, Rachel actually wanted to update her picks. So she didn't have a truck pick. She wants to do Matt Crafton for trucks. And then she wants to change your Cup pick to Kyle Larson.
Is this legal, Seth?
Yes, it is. The green flag has not flown yet. It's legal.
And I don't think anyone's picked Matt Crafton, and I don't think anyone picked Kyle Larson either.
Nope.
So that works for me.
It works for me.
Boom. Her phone typoed and said, I want to do crafting for trucks. All right.
You got to confirm. Well, maybe she meant something else.
Right. All right. So those are our picks. Any last things you guys got for the show, or are we ready to see some road course racing out in Austin, Texas?
I'm freaking ready. I'm ready for. I'm dying for qualifying and practice again, but I'm also excited for the race.
I will say this: I have confidence in the Cup Series as far as Turn 1 is concerned. For the Cup Series,
how that worked out at the Roval.
Notice I only said the Cup.
Actually, worked out really well at the Roval.
Notice I only said Cup. I made no mention of the other two series. To be fair.
Definitely. What about you, Zach? I know you're pumped and ready to go.
I'm jacked. I love COTA. I was really hoping to go out, but it's just tough transition times and just how the sport's changing with the regulations and all that. And Texas is pretty far away from here in Charlotte. So decided to give it a year. I'm sure it's going to be on the schedule again if that's not already official. I think this is going to be a Grand Slam weekend. I think it's a perfect area to have that race in, and it's a great time leading right into Memorial Day weekend next week, and just how this summer is going. Everyone's dying to go out again. Let's go to Texas and go to a world-class facility and everyone's been loving road course racing for the past few years. What Daytona did, what Charlotte's done. This is a permanent facility that's been around for a long time. Formula One, IndyCar, I mean, you name it. Let's add NASCAR in there. So I've been waiting for it for a long time, and I'm really, really excited about how it's going to work out this weekend.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people have been wondering what a street course would look like for the Cup Series and Circuit of the Americas. The way that track is laid out, this is going to be the closest they're going to get. So,
well, you say that. Meanwhile, the next Pro Invitational race is on the streets of Chicago.
Yeah.
Boom. That's right. Round 5, and that's the last. That's the last.
That's
race.
the last one on Fox.
Okay.
FS1. There's going to be 5 on NBC, although that portion is still to be announced.
Is anybody keeping track of points?
Justin Melillo is. Right now, James Davison is leading the points.
Hey, one for the small guys. I like it. Is there a place where we can either on the Kickin website or somewhere else we can go to see the full points for?
Well, Justin Melillo has a full sheet listed on his Twitter, and if you go and look, right now it is James Davison leading Timmy Hill by 12 points, and he has everyone that's taken part in the series listed on there, including Keelan Harvick.
Good boy. All right, nice. I got to look at. I'm just curious because you watch it every week, but you don't know who's. You kind of have to remember who's doing well because you're not seeing points, you know.
Yeah, it's right now the order is James Davison, Timmy Hill, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, and Garrett Smithley.
Garrett's not a surprise, but Reddick's a surprise. I didn't think he would be that good with iRacing.
Yeah, the rest of the top 10. The rest of the top 10 is Kyle Busch, Anthony Alfredo, William Byron, Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman. You have to remember for Byron, he was swept up in a wreck at both Talladega and at Darlington.
That's right. That's right. And then Dale Jr. missed this last round too, so I'm sure
he lost missed a lot it spending time with his family, yes.
So, all right. Well, that's a wrap for the show, guys. We need to do this more often without Jerry. I think it's a lot more fun, right? Don't you think so?
Great.
All right. Well, this is our last episode now, considering that. We'll be under a new name next week. But no, thanks for hanging out, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next weekend, and hopefully we'll see some rainfall. We'll see some good action here at Circuit of the Americas, and hopefully we'll see me sweeping all of the wins and Zach losing some ground so we can all catch back up in our fantasy.
Not happening, bud. Not happening. Follow the trend.
Oh, you never know. There could be somebody who just locks up the bricks entering turn 1 on lap.
Who can I pay to do that? All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.